morning once again, and welcome to the Haven Financial Group radio show. I'm Larry Kalvig, founder and CEO of the Haven Financial Group, where weekly we talk about all these wonderful retirement topics, the state of the economy, all this exciting information. It may sound overwhelming. Forgive us, but there's a lot to talk about. The good news is, though, I've said it before, you don't have to do all this on your own. I hope you have a good partnership or partnerships, that you're working with people that are spending the time with you that they should be spending with you, because you're paying them for services, and you're paying them for what? To get together maybe once a year? Probably not the amount of attention you deserve, and maybe should seek out some other type of partnership with somebody else.
We have been talking today about your retirement checklist at the end of the year. We started by talking about during the holidays, and we recognize that during the holidays, maybe not a time that you want to go through these checklists. But if you recognize the fact that we are at the end of one year and beginning a new year, and there are many deadlines, I think you will agree it is an important time to take a moment and just to walk through some of the plans that you have, some of the plans that you need to put into place, and what 2026 might look like. One of those areas is your estate plan. And Larry, this is every time we talk about this is something that we bring up. A lot of people think, oh, well, estate plans, I don't have to worry about that because I don't have a bunch. I have my home and I have my car and I have a small retirement fund, and that's it. So I'm not really worried about that. But that's not the case.
You are 100% correct. First of all, a solid estate plan could be one of the greatest gifts you can give to your family, to your kids, to your heirs, beneficiaries, charities, whoever's important to you. And you're thinking, well, I'm not rich. I'm not mega wealthy. Who cares? It has nothing to do with it. That is a complete misconception. Now, I'll preface this conversation by saying I'm not an estate planning attorney. I have years of experience in it. I'm not the attorney, though. Carrie, Renner, and Keith with Provision Law are our great partners. It's why I do classes. They come to our office. They do no-cost consultations for our folks. But it's for everyone, whether you have a very little, a lot, complicated, a lot of kids, no kids. Mm-hmm. By the way, if you have no kids, that can be problematic as well. Where's it going to go? Through the courts, through the attorneys, fees. So again, this applies to everybody. In fact, some of these estate planning documents, these ancillary documents, powers of attorney, healthcare directives, et cetera, are for those 18 and above. Well, what 18-year-old's thinking about putting a power of attorney? I guarantee hardly anybody.
Right.
And again, this applies, when you got married, became an adult, started getting assets, had kids. That's when estate planning was designed for. But as a society, we have made it a senior topic. Well, guess what? It should be done way before you become a senior, okay? It should be done when you, again, are starting life. Young kids, setting up guardianship. And maybe you're listening and you have a will that you put together 30, 40 years ago. Well, guess what? That will probably says that your kids will be under the supervision of one of your siblings. Mm-hmm. Well, your kids are now 40 or 50-year-old. They really don't want to be under your grandpa's supervision. Probably not, right? So again, these can become outdated, and that's why they should be updated. First of all, you got to start somewhere to get somewhere.
Right.
If you haven't done anything, let's have a conversation. Set up a time with a no-cost consultation. They're not going to try to talk you in and sell you something you don't need. But everybody should have a will to some degree. Everybody should have powers of attorney. Everybody should have certain things. Not everybody needs a trust. But here's the misconception. Well, I heard trusts were just for rich people. Not true. Again, getting all the information is where it starts.
Well, first and foremost, I'm going to suggest that you call Haven Financial Group and sit down with their attorney, 612-504-8400. That's the number. Write it down. Give them a buzz. Tell them that you heard us here. But it would be smart if you kind of walk through a few things on your own, maybe sit down with your spouse and the two of you talk a little bit. And one of those would be, first off, Larry, to start to itemize your physical assets, the things that you have, like houses and cars and so on and so forth.
Yeah, that's always a good idea. First, the more information, the more detail you can leave for those that your loved ones, for your heirs, the more detail, the better. It just makes sense. Create a take inventory of those valuable items. Whether it's vehicles, whether it's jewelry, grandma's wedding ring, any collectibles, any of those type of possessions. So that's always important. Also, document the non-physical assets. Those bank accounts, what are the bank accounts? What are those retirement plans, life insurance? Kind of a go-to place that the kids can go to, or your spouse can go to. A lot of times sometimes the spouse isn't involved, and one of the spouses takes care of it all. And then all of a sudden they die and they don't even know where to start looking.
Sure.
Again, the more conversations, the more communication, the better. Yeah. And even put a list of those debts, because guess what? Those liabilities are probably going to have to be paid off by somebody. The credit cards they have, the mortgage that you may have, and maybe you don't have a mortgage. And if that's the case, the happiest people in retirement don't have a mortgage. So if that's a goal of yours, I encourage it. So, those memberships and subscriptions, oh my goodness, that list might get long with all the different subscriptions that are out there today. In fact, I see charge. I'm like, I didn't know I signed up for that or that. So I think that's a good idea, just to monitor debt, to find out what subscriptions you are signed up for, because you might be getting charged and you don't even know it. So again, the more detail, the better.
Can I just, some advice? Make sure that you document your digital footprint. In this day and age, that has become such a big deal, Larry. Maybe your spouse or your children don't have any idea how to get into your accounts because everything's behind a digital wall and you haven't left behind passwords or where that stuff can be found.
Oh, that can wreak havoc big time. Again, you are the digital footprint, the world we live in, the digital footprint, for the variety of reasons you mentioned, and then for insurance purposes.
Right.
Having a digital footprint of the things, of the belongings that you have, take pictures of them. And I say that not out of fear, but I can tell you there's a couple in Lakeville that lost their house to a fire. Just tragic. And they didn't have this.
Yeah.
And guess what? They submitted all this stuff that they had in the house, supposedly, and the insurance company says, show me proof. Well, they really didn't have any proof. Guess what? They didn't get a whole bunch of their stuff covered. Yeah, so there's a variety of reasons to document digital footprint, what account numbers. Make sure, we talked about earlier, make sure your beneficiaries are current on those annuities, on those accounts, the retirement accounts, life insurance policies. And then it boils down to your estate plan, trust, will, which is more appropriate, transfer on death deed. Maybe that'll be good enough. Although that comes with some drawbacks as well. I'm not the attorney, but having a conversation, a no-cost consultation with Keith or Carrie with Provision Law here at Haven, it can go a long way. If you decide that they're not a good fit, you can interview as many attorneys as you want. What I do find, though, is I'm not against do-it-yourself in a lot of variety of areas. It can save money, do it yourself, but doing it yourself in a world that's very litigious. Be very careful. I wouldn't even bother doing it. I'm going to do my own will. Well, I understand back in the day when you could whisper to somebody what they wanted and it would be honored. But guess what? That isn't the case today. Right. A handshake probably just isn't good enough. Yeah. You need a legal estate plan done properly with the right legalese, the right verbiage. Otherwise, guess what? It might not work. And what do we get with estate planning? If it doesn't work, we only get one chance. And if it doesn't work, too bad. Right. Because guess what? Not to be that way, but when you're not here, you can't defend yourself. So good luck for your spouse and your kids. That's why it's so extremely important. And guess what? The latest statistic I saw, 85% of Americans don't have a competent estate plan. They might have a outdated plan. They might have a plan that doesn't work. But is your estate plan competent? Right. That's the question you should be asking yourself.
Well, if you've had a marriage, if you've had a divorce, if you've had children or grandchildren come into your life, if you've had a significant financial shift, this probably means that if you already have an estate plan, it needs to be reviewed. because all of those are life-changing events that affect your estate plan. 612-504-8400. That's how you get hold of the folks at Haven Financial Group. Tell them that you heard us here on the radio. We were talking about those end of the year retirement checklists that you need to check off what you've done and what you haven't, and you're looking for a partner to help you do so. Again, that number is 612-504-8400. I think this has been helpful, Larry. I hope so for a lot of people. And maybe, if nothing else, it just made some folks who were listening stop and go, I hadn't even thought about a lot of that, and maybe I better talk to somebody.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it may be overwhelming. There's a lot of information. There's a lot of different retirement topics, and there's end of the year and law changes, and it's hard to keep up on it all.
You bet.
But you don't have to do it yourself. We'd love to visit with you. I hope you're going to enjoy the holidays, but a lot of the information we gave to you is extremely important. Let us help you. 612-504-8400. Visit us online. Come to our classes. We'd love to meet you. Kim, great to be with you.
Great to be with you as well.